Hello and welcome back to Gospel First. And today we're continuing our study of Matthew chapter 19 and 20, Mark 10, and Luke chapter 18. So if Jesus looked you in the eyes and asked, "What do you want from your life?" would your answer be clear? Because one man came to Jesus with that exact question, and he walked away sad. Not because Jesus rejected him, but because he could not let go. So let's find out what it was that he couldn't let go. Let's get started. So let's start with Matthew chapter 19, verse 16. It's where a wealthy young man approaches Jesus and says, "Teacher, what good thing must I do to get eternal life?" Jesus responds, he says, "If you want to enter life, keep the commandments." That's in verse 17. The man replies, "I kept all these. What do I still lack?" That's in verse 20. Then Jesus reveals the real issue. "Go, sell your possessions and give to the poor. Then come, follow me." That's in verse 21. And here is the turning point in verse 22. When the young man heard this, he went away sad. Now, this isn't about money, it's about attachment. Jesus was not asking for charity, he was inviting complete discipleship. So here's a principle: you can obey many commandments and still hold back the one thing that matters most. To illustrate this, imagine a man who worked his entire life building wealth, built homes, investments, security. One day, he is diagnosed with a serious illness. Suddenly, everything shifts. The things that once mattered most do not matter the same way anymore. His greatest regret? Not what he lacked, but what he never surrendered. That is the moment. The rich young ruler had everything except the one thing that Jesus asked for. Now, Peter hears this and asks in verse 27, "We have left everything. What will we get?" Then in verses 29, Jesus answers, "Everyone who has left houses or family for my sake will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life." Following Jesus is not loss. It is exchange. You give up what cannot last. You receive what never ends. Next, Jesus then teaches a powerful parable in Matthew chapter 20, verse 15. Workers hired at different times all received the same wage. Some worked all day, others worked for 1 hour, yet all of them received equal pay. Are you envious because I'm generous? In Matthew verses 20, verses 15. Now notice that God's grace is not earned by comparison. It is given by generosity. To illustrate this, imagine a woman near the end of her life who decided to follow Christ. She had not spent decades in faith. She came late. Some might say, that's not fair. But here's the deeper truth. Would you rather someone miss eternal life just so things feel fair? Or would you rejoice that grace reached them at all? God is not measuring time. He is responding to the heart. So let's turn to Mark chapter 10, verse 47. It's about Bartimaeus and his turning point. Now in verses 47, Jesus nears Jerusalem, and a blind man cries out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tries to silence him, but Jesus does something really remarkable in verse 49. Jesus stopped. At the most intense moment of his life, he stops for one man. Then Bartimaeus asks in verse 51, "Rabbi, I want to see." And Jesus heals him. Then this happens in verse 52. Immediately he received a sight and followed Jesus along the road. So in closing, think about this. Bartimaeus could have gone anywhere after being healed. Instead, he chose Jesus' path, a hard road, an uphill journey, a path that led to the cross. Why? Because once you truly see who Jesus is, there's no better way to walk. So here's my question and invitation for you. What are you still holding on to? What is Jesus asking you to release? And are you willing to follow him fully? This week, ask God, what do I still lack? Be honest with the answer. Take one step of surrender, because grace is not just what saves you, it is what changes you. and Jesus is still stopping for you. That's it for another day. Thank you for staying faithful to the journey. May the Spirit continue to fill your heart and draw you closer to Jesus Christ. If your heart feels even a gentle nudge, I invite you to subscribe and share so that we can spread the gospel of Jesus Christ together. And I'll see you next time as we continue our studies in the book of Matthew, chapter 21 to 23, Mark 11, Luke 19 to 20, and John chapter 12. Until then, God bless.